Welcome to the No Quit Living podcast, where we aim to inspire and motivate people to never give up on themselves or their dreams. We will chat with highly successful people from all walks of life and discuss what motivates and drives them to successfully attack life head on and never give up. Welcome to episode number 42 of the No Quit Living podcast. I'm your host, Christopher J. Worth, and today's theme of the day is influence. Our quote of the day comes to us from Kenneth Blanchard. The key to successful leadership today is influence, not authority. Today marks day 15 of the 21-day No Quit Living challenge. We welcome you to participate in this challenge where we invite you to think big and identify your one goal that you want to accomplish over these next 21 days. Please head over to our No Quit Living Facebook page for all the details and our daily videos. You can find us at facebook.com/NoQuitLiving. We hope to see you there. I'm thrilled to bring you today's podcast. Our guest is an incredibly successful gentleman that absolutely loves life as well as helping others. His positive demeanor and upbeat approach is impossible to miss. I think you will really enjoy the wisdom he shares from his generations of both professional as well as personal success. With that in mind, it is my pleasure to introduce Lee Cockerell. Lee, I'd like to welcome you to the No Quit Living podcast.
Well, good to be with you. I've been waiting to do this. I like to talk about this subject very much.
Awesome. So, first question we always ask everybody is, are you ready to make it happen today?
Yeah, sure. I get up every morning, 4:30 or 5, and make it happen.
That is awesome. So the number one objective of our podcast is to motivate and inspire our listeners to never give up. So I wanted to ask you, Lee, if you had either a personal story about perseverance or perhaps a challenging time that tested you, but you kept on going and never quit.
Well, I've had many. I grew up on a little farm in Oklahoma with no indoor plumbing, and we had no money, and my mother was married 5 times, and I got adopted twice and got the name Cockerell when I was 16, and went to college and flunked out, went in the Army, and ended up running Disney World 35 years later.
That is quite a story. Tell me a little bit about one of the most challenging times that you encountered while running Disney.
Well, I think most people would say 9/11 was a really tough day for us. I had to get the parks closed within an hour and a half, get everybody out of there, get them back to their resorts to make sure they were safe. We had to then go into conferences, and we spent about a month trying to figure out how to take $500 million out of our cost base, because that day we had 35% of our reservations for future canceled. And so it was tough economically, it was tough emotionally, and it was tough physically to be working. I worked 7 days a week for months after that to try to figure it all out.
Wow. Did you say $500 million you had to take out of your budget?
And we did, of cost.
Wow. And did that unfortunately deal with having some layoffs, I would assume?
Actually, that's amazing. My boss, president of the company said, we're not laying anybody off, so you guys go figure out how to do it. We didn't lay anybody off, and we figured out a million things, but the way we figured them out is we had all the cast members help us. How can we save money here and there and there and there? So we had $100 ideas, $1,000 ideas, $10,000 ideas, and it just kept adding up.
That's incredible. I think in a time like that, most companies from top to bottom would have said, okay, the first and the easiest thing would be is just to lay off, and that's obviously cutting a huge amount of cost out. But I think the fact that your direct boss was able and willing to give you and your team the job, I think that says not only so much about the company itself, but why it's been so successful for many, many, many decades.
Yeah, a big layoff just kills morale for everybody, even if they didn't get laid off. And it makes them uncertain about the future, and then they don't trust you. So we knew our business would come back like every crisis in the world, but we just didn't. We wanted to protect our culture.
Well, many of our listeners, Lee, are into personal development for different areas of their lives, and I was curious if you have either a favorite book that had a significant impact on you or possibly something that you read recently that you'd like to share with our listeners.
Well, I think I get asked that a lot, and I think Stephen Covey's book, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, has always been one that got my attention back when it came out, I guess, in '89, and I started looking at it and started thinking about some of those simple things that are simple to read but not easy to implement, and they helped me really rethink what I was doing with my time and my day and how I affected people, how I dealt with people, and I ended up writing a time management book about it because it tried to help people understand that your time has huge value and most people waste it, and they don't have 2 or 3 things identified in their life that they're going to work on every day till they get them done. And so that was an interesting concept. Stephen Covey, I thought he had a lot. It was just a great book.
That is a great book. One of the things we often talk about on our show is mentors, and I was curious if you had a mentor that stood out in your lifetime that you'd like to briefly touch on.
Oh, I did. Early in my career, I was very, you can imagine, had low self-confidence. I didn't believe in myself. I was, dropping out of college, the way I grew up in this family that I was in. And so I was very defensive, and I didn't take feedback very well. And I had a boss who really took that on. And every time I did it, he sat down and talked to me about it. And I remember the one thing he said one day. He said, "Lee, do you realize the whole world does not revolve around Lee Cockerell?" And that I started changing, and I just didn't trust people, and I had to work my way out of that slowly but surely. As I had more success in my career, I finally got over it.
Is that mentor still around today, or no?
He's still alive. He lives up in North Carolina, and he's around. I haven't talked to him for a while, but yeah. And I had another one too who taught me the business. I mean, he really cared for me personally, and he just in the Waldorf Astoria in New York, and he just taught me and taught me and taught me and showed me. And here I was a young boy from Oklahoma, and he bought me a tuxedo and taught me how to dress properly for business in New York and told me what to do and what not to do to be a professional. And I needed to hear that because I didn't know.
No, that's a great story. And I think the reality is most people at some point in their lives have had either a mentor or mentors. And one thing you mentioned is they have to care about you and you have to care about them. So obviously both of your mentors did care about you, which is a nice thing.
Yeah, it was.
So in our show, each episode we utilize a daily quote. And I was curious if you have a favorite quote.
Well, I guess my personal quote when people say, "Do you have any advice for me?" I say, "Don't underestimate what you can do in your life." I really worry about so many people that maybe started out like I did and think, well, I'm just here and I don't have a college degree and I don't know this and I don't know that. I just want to say, don't underestimate what you can do. You can still learn. It's never too late to get better. I guess that would be my quote. It's never too late to get better.
That's a good one. It's never too late to get better. And one of the things we often discuss with some of our guests is always be learning. And I think it's really important to never take that learning cap off because you never know when or who you can learn some amazing things from.
Well, today you have no excuse with Google and all the stuff on the internet and websites and seminars that are offered for free, and you can fill in the knowledge gaps you have, whether you have a college degree or not. You can become an expert in something, I guarantee you.
That's a great story, and I think it makes a lot of sense in the sense that you don't need to be physically in school. You can do it online, as you mentioned. There are free courses, Google, but I think that's the one advantage of today as opposed to many years ago and decades ago is you physically had to be in a school or a learning environment. Now it can be in your car, it can be on a bus, it can be on a train, it can be literally when you're walking to and from meetings if you have a smartphone or a tablet. So I think in today's day and age, as you mentioned with technology, there is and there are no excuses and reasons why you can't go ahead and become more educated in 1, 2, or more fields.
Oh, absolutely. Not my day. You had to go out and try to get it out of your encyclopedia, which was impossible. And so, yeah, I see it today. A lot of my work is done online today. My courses, my own podcast, and you can just reach the whole world today. Absolutely, when you could never do that before, and it's pretty much free.
Yeah, and it's funny you mentioned that. I had a conversation a couple of weeks ago with the younger generation. We were talking just about that. Is in the olden days, you had to physically get a ride down to a library and go over to a card catalog and search for, as opposed to now, within seconds, you have it on your phone or tablet or your laptop.
Oh yeah, I remember when we used to have to mail brochures to people and print them, and oh my gosh, I mean, a lot of people probably won't even remember those times, but it was pretty. It was not very efficient, and you couldn't reach many people.
No, that's very true. It was not very efficient, and it took a lot of time as opposed to today via emails and all these social media sites. You can have something in somebody's hands or in front of their eyes within seconds.
Absolutely.
Lee, if you could go back and give the 20-year-old version of yourself one piece of advice, what would it be?
I think for me, just like I told you before, I way underestimated what I could achieve in my life, and I think I got lucky too. I do believe there is some luck that you're at the right place at the right time. But I would say that defensiveness and not believing in myself, and I was probably the most likely not to succeed when I got out of high school. And so I would say just get out of the environment you're in. It makes you feel that way. Go to the big city, get to know people, start learning. You don't have to be who you are. You can be who you want to be, and you can change. And that's what I think about all the time now that I know that. I wish I'd have known that more. Maybe I could have done it quicker when I was young, but that's not how life works.
I like that. You don't have to be who you are. You can be who you want to be.
Absolutely.
I might have to change that for your quote.
Okay. Yeah.
So here's an interesting question. If you could have dinner with anyone, dead or alive, who would it be and why?
Well, there's a lot of people. I've traveled to 40 countries in my life, met a lot of people. But one person I have a huge admiration for, because I do a lot of work in South Africa, is Nelson Mandela, for a couple of reasons. Not only watching how he stood up for what he believed in and stuck in there and went to prison for 27 years for his beliefs, but also that he actually believed everybody was important, whether you're white, black, Muslim, Christian, and he made a huge impact, as did Martin Luther King. And and I think those kind of people, really, I have huge admiration for them. They went through hell, and both of them, ended up having a really rough life, but they believed in what they were doing, and I would love to sit and talk to them about that.
No, I think Nelson Mandela would be an unbelievable person to have dinner with, and he did believe in what he was doing and helping others, and I think that would be an awesome dinner to attend. So this might be a tough question for you to answer, but if you had to say, what has been your biggest accomplishment?
I say, and I'm not kidding you, as I get older, I know what it is, and it's my family. I mean, my mother was married 5 times. My wife and I next year will have been married 50 years. My son has been married 25 years. We broke that cycle. And you got to decide whether you're going to carry on what you learned at home and with the bigotry and the racism and all that stuff, or else you're going to step up and change it. And now I got 3 grandkids they don't have a discriminatory bone in their body, and I'm so proud of that. I just can't tell you.
That is remarkable. So happy early congratulations on 50 on 50 years. So I wanted to ask you, Lee, if there's anything exciting that you're working on that you'd like to share with our listeners.
Oh, I got a lot of things I'm doing. I got my 4th book out now on career magic, how to keep your career under control. And I'm working with some universities on creating a textbook for students, which will come out in the state of New York university system in September. It'll be for students, teaching them about management, customer service, and leadership. And I've really gotten very involved in education and healthcare. Those 2 areas, those are the giving ones, nurses and teachers, and they make such an impact. And I always tell people, even if your parents didn't develop you the way they should have, and a lot of parents haven't, those teachers are the next firewall. And they're underappreciated, I think, and they're underpaid, and they just need to be inspired. So I like to work with them a lot.
That is very inspiring. I could not agree more. They are underpaid, and I think that's great in regards to the fact that you're working in both of those industries. Before we let you go, Lee, I wanted to ask if you had any parting words for our listeners.
Yeah, I would say to them, number one, I said, already don't underestimate what you can do, but I will also say be careful what you say and do every day, because don't underestimate the influence you have on people every day, on the street, in your home, your children, your people you work with. Just be aware that you have influence, and it can be used for negative or for positive reasons. And try to be positive and go out there every day and make people have a better day than go out there and make them have a bad day. And so I know we can all do that, and I do that every day. on purpose.
No, I think you mentioned something on that is you can have that influence, and it's every single day. It doesn't have to be somebody that you're incredibly close with. It could be somebody that you encounter for a couple of seconds, but you do have that option every single day to have that positive impact or that negative impact. And one of the things we talk about often is maybe that one smile you give to a stranger, or holding the door open, or letting somebody go in front of you in traffic. Maybe they might be having a horrendous day or be going through a really tough time in their lives. And just by doing that one thing, you have no idea the positive impact you could have on them.
Yeah, there's no question. Role modeling is the best teacher in the world. So I like to remember that myself. And it's sometimes we don't remember it and we make mistakes, and it's unfortunate.
I like that. Role model is the best teacher. So last question, Lee, and I promise it's an easy one. What's the best way for our listeners to connect or follow you?
Well, if they want to know anything about me, my phone number, my address, email, all the work I do in my books and podcasts, you can go to my website. It's Lee Cockerell, Cockerell.com. I try to keep everything in one place so I know where it is.
I like that. I think, unfortunately, in today's day and age, especially with social media, I think too many people have things in too many places. So I think maybe that might be the actual best piece of advice you shared is try to keep things in one place and make them more simple in today's day and age.
Exactly.
Well, listen, Lee, I cannot thank you enough for your time today. I truly, truly appreciate not only your time, but your feedback. And I look forward to hopefully speaking with you soon.
Sure. Let me know when this is out and we'll share it with everybody.
Thank you, sir. To sum up today's episode and our theme of the day, influence, Lee has done just that. From his many years at Disney, his marriage of over 50 years, and what he is still doing today, Lee is influencing others in so many ways. He shared an incredible story that while he was leading Disney just after 9/11, the company needed to significantly cut expenses. They made a decision right then and there not to fire anybody. When the going got tough, Disney worked together, they made it happen, and Lee helped lead the way. Lee also discussed how role modeling is the best teacher in the world. In his parting words, Lee said something that I thought was great. He suggested that we don't underestimate the influence you have on people every single day. He made sure to reference that we have the ability to positively or negatively influence others. So my call to action today is quite simple. Take a look in the mirror and ask yourself, what type of influence do you have on others? It can be at home, work, school, or even in your everyday occurrences. Do you smile at strangers, or do you walk past them with your head down? Do you hold the door open for strangers? What happens when someone holds a door open for you? Do you say thank you or just walk by? I challenge you today to have a positive effect and influence on 5 different people. They can be strangers or they can be your closest friends. I challenge you to go above and beyond and be that positive light in someone else's day. Go for it and go for your greatness. And we hope our episodes inspire you to keep on attacking life and never giving up. To quote Dr. Norman Vincent Peale, it's always too early to quit.